thought we had it all planned. A 1-year travel, 16 countries as a family of 5, with a budget of $1,000.
Aber $1.000. Da wären wir aber nicht weit gekommen, oder? Leute, wir haben kein Geld mehr.
With a budget of $100,000. But guess what? It went all wrong.
Here's what happened.
Today we're going to explain our entire budget, which was supposed to be for 1 year of traveling, the 2 of us and our 3 children, Laila, Emmet and Malik, who are at school right now.
Yeah.
We planned to travel around the world. We didn't really have a certain route. We had some destinations picked, some bucket list adventures included, but then on our way we changed a few things and just took us as it came. So why do we do all this? You want to say something? Well, first of all, why not? That's my approach always. Why not? If someone says you can't do this, I feel like, well, maybe you can't. We can. Because we wanted precious family time, don't we? Like during COVID, we felt like the most important thing is family. It's not work. It's not household chores or anything else. It's family. And as long as the kids are still small enough that they still want to travel with us, we said we have to use that opportunity, the chance, to take them on a trip and experience some adventure. So I think that's pretty much why we did this.
Show them around, yeah, show them other cultures, how people live in other countries.
And for me, I have to add that, especially during COVID, I felt like it's important for our children as well to see that there is more outside of their bubble, outside of our community. The world is so much bigger, isn't it? Yes, it is. So instead of a bigger house or fancy cars, we chose a lifetime of adventure. And some called us crazy. Traveling with 3 kids, yeah. We actually did some vacations before and enjoyed that very much. So, as I just said, why not? 33 flights later, a whole lot of stories, and quite over budget. We budgeted around 100,000 euro, which is roughly like $103,000. So let's just make it simple and say $100,000.
Yeah.
Okay. That was our budget. As I just said, we had certain destinations and adventures, bucket list adventures pretty much, that we really wanted to experience. Like, for example, the kids, especially Laila, wanted to go back to Tanzania, to a certain lodge and go on safari. I wanted to go on another kind of safari. I wanted to track gorillas, really meet wild gorillas in Africa. That was one of the bucket list things I really, really, really wanted to do.
I wanted to visit Asia because I haven't been there before, so that was my priority.
Okay. So we planned to travel for a year with the $100,000, but things didn't go as expected. At least not always. So if you want to know what really happened, stay tuned. So how could we afford all this? We actually made a video about it, but let's maybe just wrap it up really quickly. How could we afford it? Like, yeah, you had the opportunity to not quit your job,
my job, yeah,
but instead go on a sabbatical, which is really, really great option. And not everybody has that. But you had the opportunity. And I had to quit my job. But due to the fact that you were still able to work, you did not during our travels. But we did have some financial cushion because you did get paid a certain amount of time, a certain amount of money at least, not 100%. And you will have to work for the next few years to get everything back in. But yeah, you have this great opportunity from your employer. Yeah, but I think like most things were paid from our savings. So we did plan for a few years. We saved up a few things. We sold quite a lot of stuff. Like you sold almost all your instruments, like technical equipment, some camera gear, all the things that we felt like, okay, we don't need it for this adventure now, and we could like kind of buy it again in the future.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing was for sure the car.
The car, yes, we sold it as well. And of course, we could rent our house. And that was also like a big factor.
Yeah, for sure.
Contributing to a monthly cash flow, basically.
Exactly. Like we still had the house here, and another family moved in and paid pretty much all the basic costs that we had here in Germany while we were traveling. So that was a really, really good opportunity that made a whole lot more possible for us. So I think in general, like in our daily life, we prioritize usually, like always, rather experiences over stuff. Right, like I'm not going shopping like other people, like other women do. I have a certain amount of clothes, shoes, and everything, and I don't feel like I need to buy something new every week. I think it's the same for you.
Yeah, it's also more functional clothing instead of buying like whatever the top brands or whatever, you know.
Seasonal. Yeah. Fashion, exactly, yeah. And then we usually cook more at home than go out, which is much more inexpensive here in Germany at least. So that also saves up a lot. And I mean, you have to budget with a family of 5. We are not rich. Our bank account is not full, even though some people might think that we are not rich. We have to work to do all the things that we do.
It's basically setting your priorities in a different way to make it possible.
Exactly. So we sold our car, we packed our backpacks, and just started for a grand adventure of a lifetime.
Let's go.
Yeah. When we talk about costs, what was not included? Do you know? Because I usually do the finances. Well, not included is health insurance. Of course, we had health insurance during our travels. We had quite a bit of immunization costs before we even started. Like we started almost 6 months prior to our traveling start and got all kinds of vaccination. And that cost, I think, almost like $3,000.
Euros.
Yeah, let's just make it simple, dollars. And then we had some minor educational costs, I would call it. We planned to educate our children during our travels, at least in the main subjects like maths, German, English. So I got some books and, you know, just educational things for them to make it easier to study, even though we were traveling full-time. And it worked, exactly. So now they are back at school in their old classes together with their old friends. The teachers just told us last week or 2 weeks ago that some couldn't even tell that they were gone. So, yeah, it worked out. Okay, how did we keep track of transactions? We had an app called Money Note. I think you can actually use all kinds of apps, or just
there are so many apps on
you can also just write it down. Like my mom, when she travels, she has this kind of booklet, small book, where she just writes everything down manually. I know other people just have a Google sheet or Excel sheet and write everything down. We used to sit down for lunch, for dinner, and then always kind of resumed on, okay, what did we have for costs today? And I just put it in the app, and yeah, it was easy because there were categories like this is for accommodation, this is for transportation, food, souvenirs, you know, whatever.
It's a bit of work, but she was really on it every time after every coffee I got.
Yeah, at some point you were like, I don't know, you went off to get some coffee, and when you came back, you didn't really say like, oh, this is a good one, but $2.99, something like that, so that I could write it down right away, and we won't forget about it.
Or $8 in Singapore.
Yeah, $8 coffee. Okay, so what country do you think was the most expensive on our travels?
Guess in the comments below before we reveal it.
now.
Okay, so 11 months, 16 countries, 3 kids, as we said, and we thought Australia would be our most expensive one, but we were wrong. So let's hear how much we spend in each country.
Let's start with the most expensive one. It was?
Tanzania.
Tanzania, yeah. It was right at the beginning of our travels, Africa, as a whole, and we splurged a lot, for sure.
But yeah, okay. We had 2 big adventures that we did in Tanzania, which was, one of them was safari.
Mm-hmm. Luxury safari.
Yeah, you can't really get away with cheap safari, I think, in Tanzania. Especially with a family of 5, it's, I think, difficult to have big savings. And then the other big adventure was Kilimanjaro trekking.
Climbing Kilimanjaro. For 6 days.
Yeah, for 6 days. You can't do it by your own, of course, so you need a big team who supports you, carries all your stuff, prepares all the dinners and lunches for you. So,
like, even if you wanted to, you're not allowed to go by yourself. So, you have to support the communities there. And I mean, it's something that we like to do as well anyways. So, yeah, but we did splurge in Africa because actually it felt like more of vacation at the beginning. So it was also very fast-paced. Like, we didn't stay in one place for 2 nights. It was always only just one night and then picking up again and leaving the next day. So that was really adventure pure, but also like spending a lot of money.
Yeah, so in Tanzania, we had daily expenses per person per day of $240 almost. $239.73. Then number 2 was Uganda. Uganda also in Africa. We also did some safari there. That's also where I went gorilla trekking together with my mom. And I think that was the most expensive part there because you have to get a certain permit, which was like $500 per person just for those couple of hours of getting allowed to enter Bwindi National Park to look for gorillas. And you also have quite a lot of security there with you. People that look like soldiers and everything, so yeah.
Also, we did safari in Uganda as well, and it was actually not that bad. So if you want to do safari and maybe save some costs, then instead of Tanzania, you could also go to Uganda.
Yeah, Uganda was really beautiful too.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as in the Serengeti, I think.
No, of course not, but
like
I was surprised about the animals that we could see.
Yeah, true. And it was like the Pearl of Africa, I think they call Uganda. And we said afterwards, like, wow, we didn't really have it on our radar, despite like the gorilla trekking. And we really wonder why that is, because Uganda is really worth visiting. Like, of all the places there, of course, we've been to Tanzania twice, but I would go back to Uganda right away, immediately.
Great people, very friendly people, and there were not so many tourists, actually.
Yeah, true. Okay, then number 3 is another African country.
Kenya. We only stayed there for 1 day. 1 day in Kenya only. It was more like a transit stop, but we spent $145 per person for that 1 day.
I think it's similar to Tanzania.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But I actually, I think not just me, but all of us, we like Tanzania much more, right? Like, in Kenya, it felt more, everything was business. Like, the people didn't feel as genuine, as hospitable. It was all about making money for them. That's at least how we felt. Yeah, Tanzania, number 1 with almost $240. Uganda with $210 per person per day. Kenya with $145 in just 1 day per person. And then we had another transit stop. Some places felt like challenges.
I think Ethiopia was one of those, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit... we stayed there only one night for transit, but the experience in general was not that good.
It was enough. It was enough because we had like youth groups trying to rob us, and the kids were not attacked, but people were physically trying to get the kids away from us, and that this is not a great experience, not at all. So anyways, we spent $99 per person per day for this one day in Ethiopia, due to the fact, I think the most expensive was the visa actually.
Okay.
I had booked this transit and thought, well, one day, how much could it be for the visa? But there was quite a lot. I can't recall the number right now, but I think that was what the price.
But I also have to say, I mean, we only stayed in Addis Ababa, which is a big city. So I guess when you're outside in the country, like in the countryside, the experience would have been different, I think.
For sure, yeah. I mean, Martin, my brother, he went to Ethiopia a few years ago and he loved it. So, yeah, but it's one of those countries where we feel now it's not on our bucket list. But another country that I think we'd always want to go back to, but is quite far away from us, is number 5 in the most expensive destinations that we travel to, Australia. The one that we thought would be the most expensive one wasn't. So it was the 5th most expensive one. We paid like $81.05 per person per day in Australia, but we stayed there for 86 days.
Yeah, for quite a long time.
Yeah, like almost a quarter of a year. We used all the time we had there as a tourist.
Also, I mean, we didn't really save on activities, so we did quite a lot. We moved around a lot.
For the first month, we rented a car and drove from one Airbnb to another, and also visited some friends in Esperance on the south coast of Australia. Then we flew from Perth to Adelaide, and in Adelaide we actually rented out a mobile home, big one, that we used
7 weeks.
For 7 weeks. So that's quite expensive. Yeah, and then we traveled, along the coast all the way up to Bundaberg, flew over to the Great Barrier Reef for a day, to Lady Elliot Island. That's also not inexpensive. And just as you mentioned, from Melbourne, we also flew over to Tasmania to stay there for a few days. So we did pretty much at least one activity a day. There was, I think, not even one day where we did not do anything. So we did a lot, but also because we thought, well, Australia is so far away from us here from Europe that we have to make the most out of it, and we don't know when we come back, so let's just try to use the time we have and just enjoy it. And that's what we did.
It was
$81.05 per person per day. It was what?
No, I just want to say, I have the feeling right now I don't have to go there again right now, like in the near future. So I think we maximized it more or less.
Yeah, true. I mean, still you can't, at least that's how I feel now, you can't really see everything, even though it's just one country, and you might think that 3 months are a lot. Australia is simply huge. It's really huge. I mean, it was more at the end of our travels, and at some point I felt like, oh, I'm not quite sure whether we can afford to keep going. And we did change a few plans after that. Like, we were thinking of going to New Zealand, or making the leap over to America. Like, during our travels, we did not travel to North, Central, or South America. So even though we had planned that, you would have loved to go to Hawaii, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was on our bucket list as well. But yeah, we put it off because we had so many other experiences before, especially also in Asia, that when we were in Australia, we decided to not go for it, not take the leap, but instead go back to Asia again and have a bit more experiences there. Next one, number 6 on our list of the most expensive destinations was
Japan. Great country.
Great country, great food. Reminded
great
us
nature, actually.
It reminded us a lot of German people and like technology, not really the newest anymore. What did you just say?
People always talk about the technology in Japan, but for me the surprising point was the nature, because I didn't expect to see like such a diverse and beautiful nature.
True. I think if we'd go back for the nature. We had some really cool experiences there. The kids saw, not just the kids, all of us, came really close to an active volcano. I'd love to go to Okinawa like also experience the more, not just rural sites, but like tropical side of Japan, and it's so diverse. It really is so diverse, and I'd love to go back. Japan, we love you. We'll come back.
Arigato.
Why are you saying arigato? Okay, number 7. One more country that we really fell in love with.
Especially the kids.
Malik's favorite country. It's the one country that at least Malik and me, we could imagine living there for longer. You know, I mean, we visited twice. Once for almost a month in October 2023, and another month in May last year, May 2024, because we loved it so much. And there was South Korea. 안녕하세요. So yeah, both times we rented cars, we went on road trips, we saw quite a lot of the country, we made some friends, I don't know, it was really also beautiful nature, not as spectacular maybe as in Japan, but I don't know, I felt home there somehow. I don't know why.
I think it's different as a tourist.
Yeah,
than like living there. I guess it's different when you live there and you have to work and earn money. But as a tourist, it's really nice, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I wouldn't like to let my kids go to school there, like from what we heard of the pressure at school. But yeah, from the tourist perspective and all the amenities, the convenience you get offered in South Korea is...
Convenient stores.
Yeah, starting from convenience stores to transportation options, like everything. We had so many experiences where we just walked around and then we suddenly found something and it was perfect for kids. And nobody talked about it. Nobody really said anything before, but so many. I mean, South Korea is known for not having that many children, but really a lot of old people now. So that they say the society might even die out. But they have beautiful and extremely modern amenities and possibilities for children, for families, for education, for experience, for adventure. So yeah, that's what we loved. And Malik fell in love with K-pop. He even enrolled in a K-pop class now here in Germany. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay, number 8, Singapore. Not that far away.
Singapore, not that far. I think we stayed there only a couple of days, maybe 3 days?
No, we stayed for 7 days.
Oh, 7 days. Okay.
We stayed for 7 days, and they said Singapore is the most expensive country, destination in the world.
Also some of the richest people.
Depends. I think you can spend a lot of money there if you want to.
Yeah.
But we kind of try, of course, as a family, we try to keep the cost low.
Yeah, I think I tried to really save on accommodation. I booked kind of like a capsule hotel, it was really, really tiny. Like we couldn't even bring our luggage inside. We had to store the luggage in another room with all the other people's luggages. And whenever you needed something, you had to go there and, get it out of your suitcase or backpack because, it was really just...
It was a tiny room with
this much space to move around. Everyone had their bed, and as long as you were sitting in bed or laying down, you had a lot of space for yourself, but you couldn't really stand up and walk around a lot. You could get up and go to the bathroom, which was private, and there was this one little corner, if I recall it correctly. But it was tiny in the middle of Chinatown, still very modern though from the inside. And it was cheap. It was cheap, and I think that's how we saved. Because, we actually forgot to mention how much we spent in the other countries. In Japan, we spent...
$69.44.
$69.44. And in South Korea, only 2 cents less.
$69.42 per day, per person.
Exactly. And in Singapore, we spent $62.04 due to the savings and accommodation.
And we did a few activities. We actually saved also on activities in Singapore, but we also did a few things. Like we went for the Harry Potter experience because the kids started to read the Harry Potter books during the travels.
We went to the beach.
Sentosa. We went to Sentosa.
This island, is that the island?
Sentosa.
Okay.
Of course, went out for food here and there, but we never really went into into an expensive restaurant. We usually try to eat where the locals also eat, like in hawker stalls and everything, which was really
that was good. Yeah.
really interesting. You know, the food was good. You had a great option. Everyone was able to find something, and you could also just watch other people. And I think that's a good way of trying to get to know the culture as well.
And the good thing is they all speak English, so you can really talk to the people. And these food, how are they called?
Hawker stalls.
Food hawker stalls. You have these round tables where you mostly sit with other people. A couple sitting next to us, and it was really we immediately started to small talk and had a discussion about food
and family, and so that's great. That's very convenient, very easy.
And that was a bit sad actually in Japan and South Korea, because you wanted to talk, but it was difficult to, because we're not speaking Japanese or South Korean, so it was hard sometimes to exchange with the people.
That's true. Yeah, we would have loved to get into more conversations with people, but especially in Japan and South Korea, people are more cautious. Even though they learn English at school, maybe they don't feel like they are good enough to use it, which is sad. English is also just a second language for us. We also only learn it at school, so it's not our mother tongue. We don't really feel safe, but we just try to speak it anyways. But I guess as long as you are not used to it and you don't have to speak it every day, I guess people just don't do it. It's the same here. My parents wouldn't really just start speaking English, even though they might have learned some of it at school.
And then came a country with a really great price-performance ratio, also in Asia. We loved it there. We had a transit there first in October, I think it was in October of 2023.
Yeah.
Liked it that much. We had 16 hours or something. Liked it so much that we said, we have to come back here. And then we did. We went to Shanghai and surrounding for almost 2 weeks, again last year, and that was China. So a great country to really experience a lot and get a lot for your money. Experience great culture.
Friendly people.
Very friendly people. Hospital people. China.
Good coffee.
And at least Shanghai and surrounding is very modern. I got really surprised. I did not imagine it to be that modern and convenient. The metro system is incredibly cheap, but very efficient and clean and everything. Yeah. There were a lot of things I wished we would have here in Europe, Central Europe. We don't.
Far away from that.
Yeah. People say China is living in the future here. After visiting China now, I feel no, China's living in 2025. But here, Europe, we are living in, I don't know.
We're living in the past.
In the past millennium.
And that was a good thing in
China.
Because people still tried to talk to us, even though they were not speaking English. That was true. Really fun, actually.
That's true, yeah. And even though the people in China, and we went to Singapore and surrounding, so the most international area, I would
Not
think.
Singapore, you mean Shanghai.
Shanghai, sorry. Yeah, we went to Shanghai and surrounding, which is known for experts. So that's probably one of the most international areas in China, I guess. And still, even though they try to speak in English with us, or sometimes they kind of push their kids in front to tell them, you learn English at school, that's the opportunity to try to use it now. So sometimes we had funny situations where our boys, who also just started learning English, were forced to speak English because somebody else wanted their kids to speak English. And even though they didn't speak, the adults weren't really able to speak English that well, then they had their translator out very quickly, and they were not that hesitant as maybe people in South Korea or Japan. So that was really cool. And that brings us to the cost, we spent $54.53, which is quite a very good price-performance ratio, I would say.
Yeah.
Like,
shall we reveal
Good.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
good.
do it. We're coming back. We're coming back. Our next international trip is going to be China. Yeah. If you have other
the Chinese
recommendations,
followers, let us know your recommendations.
let us know. Tips, hacks, whatever for us. What should we see? What should we do? What should we try to eat or whatever?
Let us know. Yeah, definitely let us know.
Let us know. Write them down in the comments. Contact us. I'm so psyched. I'm so looking forward to it. And yeah, we have to wait until the kids have school vacation.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to go back. Another really, really surprisingly beautiful price-performance ratio country was Vietnam. Also with incredible, nice people, great experience.
Good food actually as well. Yeah, very good food, nice weather, and what else?
Interesting experiences. Like we learned a lot there about politics and society, and we also got surprised like how modern it is. You know, when you hear about Vietnam here in Europe, you just think of Vietnam War. So you think of like a very poor country. You know, many people living here in Germany, when you talk about Vietnamese people, they were refugees, and they are on the, how would you say this? Like they're not in the middle class, they are on the lower class.
No, also the impression from the German side is like that.
Exactly. But when you go there, you actually see that there are some areas that are incredibly modern. Mm-hmm. Like I happened to book Airbnbs in Hanoi as well as in Ho Chi Minh City that ended up to be the most modern areas of both cities. And we didn't know until we came there. We were really surprised, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
What I loved as well were all the like sports activity areas, like in all these residential areas.
Yeah.
They had multiple like gym equipment, basketball, volleyball, tennis courts basically. And you could just go there and play.
Yeah, playgrounds for the kids, parks, where in the evenings, when the sun set and it was not as hot anymore, parks were full of people doing sports. It was so beautiful to see, inline skating, dancing, just sitting together, playing cards or whatever. A really beautiful country, and really, really like beautiful, not from the outside only, but really, like from the inside. It felt like very hospitable, very friendly, very open people. I really liked Vietnam as well, so I'd go there again. Yeah. Oh, our spendings in Vietnam were $43.70, and that was staying in accommodation, as I just mentioned. Yeah, that's like the top notch in Vietnam. Like we really had very modern apartments there, and we stayed quite long in Vietnam. We stayed there for 33 days. It was like after our big Africa and Nepal trekking adventure, to kind of rewind, and that's where we finished our year of 2023 and started into 2024. So it was kind of like vacation from the traveling, and yeah.
It was a very different Christmas experience.
True, yeah. Then the next country on our list of most expensive ones during our travels was India. Want to say something about India?
Good food. I like the food.
Yeah, but incredibly spicy.
Yeah.
You have to get used to this.
Not too I could still easily eat it.
No.
It was not too spicy for me.
No, I always had to have an extra amount of rice or bread or something because it was very spicy. And I like spicy, but I can eat Chinese spicy and South Korean spicy, but India is another level when it comes to spiciness. Also in like kind of people interaction way.
I mean, yeah, of course, there are, you have many people living there, and it's all like the temperatures are hot and the cities are very busy and everything, so it's quite intense as a European family to go there, especially with kids.
I think
but it was really a good experience. So like,
yeah, we
missed it.
We had a good time there, and still, I think intense is a good word for that. It was a very intense stay in India, and we stayed there for 14 days. Went to Delhi, Agra, and Varanasi. And we spent $38.27, so quite cheap already. Well, the accommodation was not luxurious or anything. We tried to eat here and there at least some street food. We did not have any trouble stomach-wise or,
because people were
no
telling
food
us,
poisoning, nothing.
Many people were telling us before that we will definitely get sick.
We did not.
All of us, but we did not act.
No, we did not. But it is very loud and hot, and people have a different kind of
personal space.
Personal space, thank you, that's the word, yeah, than we do. Like, we know each other very well, but even if you don't know someone, people come that close to you there. Sometimes they even touch you, and the kids were, especially the boys, the small ones, sometimes they were a little bit complaining about other people touching them quite often, in their faces, on their heads. They didn't like that. Yeah. It is what it is. We had a very intense experience there. Destination number 12 on the list is Qatar. It was our very first stop when we started traveling from Europe to Qatar and then to Africa. So it was pretty much just a transit stop, just for one night, one day. And we spent $34.50, which I think is very cheap for Qatar. I can imagine, as I said, we only stayed there for one day or one night. But just from what I heard, Qatar can be very expensive.
It's like Dubai, I guess.
I guess it's like Dubai, yeah. It depends like what you choose, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just had one night, so we couldn't really do a lot.
Yeah, well, at least we had a kind of middle-class hotel, and we got some great food, local food. Walked around a little bit, because it was already dark, so not as hot anymore.
I would like to go there again.
Yeah, we will. We will, because it's on our way back from China. We'll have a transit in Qatar. Okay, number 13 on our list of 16 countries is Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka or Sri Lanka?
I think in English they say Sri Lanka.
Okay.
We only spent $30.91 per person per day in Sri Lanka. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was, I think, the country with the, most friendly people?
Most hospitable, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, everyone, like, if you're on the streets walking and like passing someone, all of them, they were always greeting and smiling at you.
Yeah. And they also loved kids. They love kids there. They try to, when you just stop on the road to get, I don't know, like corn, maybe just, a little snack, they give you something extra just because, you have kids and they want to take care of your children,
super
actually.
Friendly.
So very, very super friendly, yeah.
Like in many other places, I mean, when you pay someone, of course, like you expect them to be friendly with you. But in Sri Lanka, like everyone was friendly to you.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like this artificial kind of like friendliness. It felt like it really came from the people's heart. So that was beautiful. From old to young, like everyone. So helpful, incredible people. We spent there almost a month, 25 days to be precise, and traveled all over the island.
East, south, west.
Central. Like from hiking to surfing to snorkeling. Oh, we had so many great experiences there. Sri Lanka is definitely a must-visit destination, we think. And in India, people told us when we said, our next destination will be Sri Lanka, they were like, oh, that's paradise. That's Earth's paradise. And I guess kind of it is. Yeah. Then number 14, a lot of people here in Europe really schwärmen. Love to talk about it. I can't think of the English word right now. They really, like, a lot of people speak very fondly, very positive about Thailand, so we had high expectations, I guess. We stayed in Thailand for 23 days, which is also quite a long time. and spent $30.04. So pretty much as in Sri Lanka. But would we go back?
I think you have to be into like a different type of holiday if you want to go to Thailand, because most of the people who are going there and who are talking positively about Thailand, they go to a resort on an island or whatever, you know, like they go to one hotel complex and they mostly stay there. Maybe they go to another one, but usually they don't really, I mean, that's my guess, I don't know, but they don't really travel around in the country by themselves like we did.
Like I would also think it felt like it's not all-inclusive hotels. Like many people go out for dinner, I guess. But it's a vacation destination. You know, it's not a country that you visit to experience the culture. What I love, what I would have hoped for. But instead, you see like tourists, just like here in Spain. Or sometimes even Turkey, you know, people that are on vacation and feel like, oh, I earned my right to behave in the way I would never do at home. Like, that's my vacation, so enjoy my life no matter what other people, other cultures might think of me. So I don't know. I would have loved to feel and see more of the authentic side of Thailand.
That's not really our way of experiencing a country.
Yeah, it was cheap. Let's say it this way. We stayed there because it was cheap. We could save some money.
We still had a good time. We stayed like a week in Bangkok.
And it's a big city, of course.
It's a big city. I mean, it was okay. And then we had a nice time as well, like beach time and whatever, enjoying the sun.
Yeah, but we actually, the boys did not enjoy the beach time that much because there were always some jellyfish. You know, when we went snorkeling, when we went swimming, we always had jellyfish interactions, and you always saw those signs of like encounters that might happen with some sea creatures. So the boys, at least, they were very cautious, and I think that was a bummer as well. Thailand is not on our list anymore.
I would go to Vietnam.
Go to Vietnam instead. Much more authentic, much more friendly. Yeah, anyways. Another country that we really fell in love with. We had low expectations. It was more like, okay, it's on our way, and our Uncle Martin spoke fondly about it, and we had a contact there, so we thought, well, why not stop in Nepal? And it ended up to be a jam. Do you want to say something?
I wanted to send greetings to Okan and his family.
Yeah. Yeah, we had such a great time in Nepal, and we are still talking about it all the time. And we said that as soon as the kids are a bit bigger, stronger, you know, so that everyone can carry their own backpack, we definitely want to go back to Nepal for sure.
But we had a special experience because of the connection with a local family. And, they showed us around, they took us into their family life, basically. And I think you don't have that if you go there as a normal tourist.
Probably not, yeah. But even if you don't have that, the nature is just incredible. And I think, like, for what you pay, you get so much. You know, I mean, we stayed in a small village in the mountains, and for some days we did not have internet or mobile connection, but it was beautiful, you know. It was just like life, what I guess it should be like, you know, surrounded by nature and weather, just like nature, you know, not all those convenient things, and you can't just go out and go shopping or all the things you have in big cities. Also, Kathmandu is kind of loud and crazy and dirty at some points. But the countryside of Nepal is so beautiful, so beautiful, really. We only spent there $26.59, which makes it almost the most inexpensive, the cheapest country of all the destinations that we visited. And we can't wait to go back, for sure. So, at the end of our list is Rwanda, a country that we also only stayed in for one night, one day, on our tour, pretty much from
Uganda to Kenya, so it was more like a transit. And I think that's also the reason why it's so much more inexpensive than what I had expected. We only paid $20.50 per person per day in Rwanda, because most of the costs were already in the Uganda trip included. But yeah, what did we learn about Rwanda in this short amount of time?
It's a very clean country, I would say, compared to Uganda.
Or Tanzania.
Or
Kenya. Like, yeah, I've
also very organized as well.
Very organized. Probably the cleanest country in Africa. Like, that's what I would say. So, what did we learn? One thing, slow travel is for sure cheaper. Surprise, surprise! Like one day in Tanzania can actually buy you almost 9 days in Nepal, which is crazy when you think about it, right? Why did we not go slow? Well, we had a limited time. We knew like we have around 1 year before we have to come back, and I kind of feel rushed all the time. I feel like, yeah, we can make more money, but you can't make more time, right? So 11 months, 16 countries as a family of 5, and we flew quite often also. Of course, we had a lot of international flights, a few national ones as well. 33 flights in total, and 8 trips by boat or ferry or ship, numerous metro rides and roller coasters. We went to quite a lot of amusement parks as well, from Disneyland to Lotto World to Everland in South Korea, all kinds of amusement parks as well. So how much did we spend in total? Can you see the number? You know, for the accommodation, food, activities, all the things that we just mentioned before.
We spent $114,000 or euros.
No, dollars, exactly. And then you have to add $21,000 for those 33 flights for the 5 of us. And at the beginning of the video, we excluded some costs for immunization and health insurance, gear, education, and also papers like passport, international driver's license, international birth certificate. Those also added up to almost $6,000, which makes a total of... You don't want to say it? Okay, first of all, we planned with $100,000 budget, and we ended up with $141,000. That's the story of how we traveled over budget.
I could have bought a Porsche for that money.
But you definitely don't have to be rich to travel the world. You know, we did splurge here and there. We did splurge in Africa. We did a lot of activities, like everywhere, but especially also in Australia. Because, as I mentioned, we felt like we only have a limited time. We are already here, so let's try to make the most out of it. But you don't have to be rich. It's all about priorities. You know, if you set your priorities, if you want that Porsche in front of your house, well, then I guess you prioritize that. For us, it's more experiences over stuff. We gained a lot, like so many memories as a family now, and it's only a couple more years until the kids will leave the house, make their own experiences, live their own life. But we got some memories that we can cherish now for the rest of our lives, and they hopefully will too.
Yeah.
I think that alone is worth everything,
Yeah.
and I'd pay it any second again. If I had the money right now, I'd do it all over again, and I'd spend the same kind of money. I wouldn't care, because I feel like, you know, I can just work again and get the money back, but no one can take away those memories from us. So yeah, what are our takeaways from traveling full-time for 11 months? I feel like the world got bigger, you know, we traveled to so many places, and still, I feel like there are still so many more that we did not travel to. I mean, it was 16 countries in 11 months, but how many countries are there in the world? 194 or something?
Close to 200, yeah.
Almost 200 countries. Imagine, this is like, oh, we saw this much of the world.
But for me, the world actually got smaller. Because for Asia, China, whatever, you know, Africa, these countries felt like so far away. like I couldn't really relate to them, but now it's like they somehow got closer to me. Like, you know, I can relate now because I saw how the people live there, you know, what they eat, how they behave and everything, and we're all the same.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, everyone has the same problems. You just want your kids to grow up healthy and happy and successful, whatever success you want it to be. We always have the same. All of us have the same trouble.
All drink coffee everywhere.
I don't. I don't know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean in the way of like that they come closer, that they came closer to your heart, maybe even. You can relate more. That's how I feel now about a lot of things. You know, I feel like we learned a lot of things from people behavior, cultures, but also like history. Like we made so many experiences where we learned about genocide in Rwanda. We learned about Vietnam War. That is actually not called Vietnam War when you are in Vietnam. There they call it American War. Did you know? South Korea has a lot of history too. China, of course, as well. I feel like we only like scratched on the door there. Yeah, we learned so much about people, cultures, politics, and media. I feel like I can't emphasize enough to just don't believe everything you hear on the news. Don't believe everything they tell you on television or radio or on the internet. Experience it for yourself. I hope that just like our horizons just grew, I hope you can experience the same. So what else? The kids, I feel like they appreciate their friends now more. Yeah. They always appreciated their friends, but now even more because they learned how to live without them for quite a while. But they also learned to make new ones. In every country, you know? It was always the people come up to us because of the kids, and the kids can relate, get easier into contact with other people than as adults. I feel like we are always like thinking of, okay, what do they think of us? How should we behave? Kids just do. Another factor that I felt before already, but now even stronger, is education is so much more than school. So much more. Like, of course, the kids can sit in their classrooms together with their friends or colleagues or whatever you want to call that and learn about math and history and languages and social studies. It's not the same when you actually experience it. If you travel to different countries and you meet people from different cultures and experience them, it's more ingrained, not just into your brain, but like into your whole body because you feel it, you know? And so that's why I think travel is the best education you can get your kids. That's at least our perception. I had one more question to you. Do you feel like you got closer to your Turkish roots now? We did not go to Turkey during our 11-month travel. Like, let's clarify. Alpay was born here in Germany and raised here in Germany, but his parents are from Turkey. So he grew up with the Turkish culture in Germany, and we went to Turkey once, twice, sometimes 3 times a year when the kids were smaller already. But do you feel like something of this feeling changed during our travels?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I feel like it did for you, because whenever we met someone of Turkish descendants, you were so happy. You were like...
I was surprised most of the time.
Yeah, surprised, but more than just surprised. It always felt like... And you were talking, you know, you had those conversations with people in Singapore and Australia and pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere, Japan, Thailand.
South Korea, yeah, you always met Turkish people and you were just so lit up suddenly. And even though the conversations, the meetings were over, you were still talking about them hours later. So I felt like...
Because they were surprised as well, like in many cases.
Could be. But it felt, to me at least, seeing you there, as if you came closer to your Turkish roots by traveling internationally.
No, I wouldn't say closer, but it's just... of course, I was like positively surprised every time when I saw a Turkish flag, or like, you know, I could hear Turkish people talking to them, and then I can just interact with them. So it was just, like a positive surprise.
But it was not the same when we met German people or saw a German flag. you know? Very often we were like, the Germans, well, you know, nothing new to learn here, I guess. Which is wrong. I know it's wrong.
It's strange, yeah. But if you meet German, I think it's maybe a cultural thing as well. Like if German tourist people meet like in a foreign country, they don't really exchange with each other. They're kind of like, okay, why is he here now? Like I am here. Like
don't ruin my special experience in this culture. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You don't have this when you meet Turkish people.
No, then it's more like, yeah, you are here as well. Like, you know, let's exchange. Where are you from? What's your story? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Interesting, huh? Mm. This grand adventure changed us. It was not about just seeing places. It was about meeting people. I think that's what we always come back to. You know, when we said goodbye to one country and then headed to the next one, we were always like, okay, what was the best here? I think it was always the people. It was always the people where we felt like that's the best. Yes, the nature in Japan and, you know, nature here and there, or the technology and the convenience, that's all great, but at the end of the day, it's the people. So would we do it again?
Yes.
In a heartbeat. Like, give me an hour and I'll be packed, ready to go. But I think we already talked with the kids about it, still when we were on our back, but also now that we are back home again. Will we do it again? Yes. All of us say yes, but it will be different. Of course, the kids grow up now. They are more and more like, she's going to be a teenager, and the boys are also not that small anymore. And of course, it's natural for them to now turn more towards their friends and further away from the family. That's natural, we knew that, but that's also one of the reasons why we know that if we do this again in the future and we really want to, it has to be different. We probably won't be able to travel for as long anymore. The next time maybe 3, 4, maybe 6 months at most.
Maximum,
yeah, because I think
it's unfair for them.
Yeah, I think it's a crucial time for them to actually be with their friends most of the time now, I guess. So, but yeah, as I just mentioned, they also have the travel bug now, they love it. And Malik wants to do it all over again. Like he said the other day, he wants to go to all these places again, into the right order again. I think we won't do this. No. Yeah, let's wrap it up, okay. If you think this trip was worth the budget, hit like. If you do it differently, then comment below. Where would you go? What would you do different? And if you love family adventures, don't forget to subscribe, because more travel stories are coming next Sunday on our travel channel.